Hello, digital warriors, and welcome back to the Forge of Unicorn podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Tyler Robertson. Tyler is one of a kind. He's a CEO of a company that runs 100 million a year. Doing what? Heavy duty truck diagnostic. But this is not a normal company because Tyler started it from scratch. He became a CEO without asking any investment, and he was able to build this big company with over 200 employees. What they are doing? SaaS-enabled repayment solution. And they were able to navigate all the disruption of the COVID, the disruption of AI, and being able to create a SaaS platform that is really innovative. But before deep diving into the nitty-gritty details about what Tyler is doing with this laptop, let's welcome Tyler. Tyler, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on. And honestly, this has like been a wild ride the last decade. Starting in my garage dining room table with literally $1,000. When I started this 10 years ago, it was just a matter of like, can I afford to, put food on the table and a roof over my kids and my family's head? So this was never a story or an intention to go do something like this. It was just kind of one of those things where I was in the right place at the right time with the right knowledge. And I love to tell people I love taking risk and whatever, but really the honest to God's truth is I was probably just too dumb to know any different in a lot of a lot of these situations. So it's been a ride, man. It's been an absolute ride. So I'm really looking forward to the podcast here and just talking through everything. And like you said, how we grew it and how this thing all works and where we position ourselves in the marketplace.
Yeah, and your story is really intriguing to me because I have interviewed a lot of investors. We know how difficult it is to have a successful company in IT, and they are investing and pouring into the ecosystem that they have in their portfolio millions, if not billions. You did with zero investment, or better. With zero investment from the investor, you put everything you had in your disposal in order to get a revenue stream that was able to pay the bills and all the other stuff. Is something not common. How you did that?
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of times when people look at tech companies, and I see this in my industry a lot, people that are heavy in tech come into our industry and come up with a solution and it doesn't work and the company doesn't work and they raise a lot of money and they do a lot of things. And I could rattle off lists of companies that have raised 100 plus million in my industry and don't exist today. And I think the real difference for us at Diesel Laptops has been I was never focused on building a company. I was never focused on making profit. I was never focused on growing revenue. I was just focused on solving people's problems. So I'm someone that comes from our industry and I knew what the problems were because I had the good fortune of working in truck dealerships for 10 years. And I got to talk to customers every single day. I got to talk to diesel technicians every day, truck drivers every day, truck owners every day. And I got to understand what their problems and what their pain points were. And it's just a unique perspective when you're waist deep in something and you see all the issues and all the problems and all the things and you sit there and you think, why isn't this better? And I remember 25 years ago when I was working at a dealership with now my COO, Dan. He's like, Tyler, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember you looking at a truck and being like, man, wouldn't it be nice if you just hook a computer up to this thing and it would tell you what's wrong and how to fix it? And, here we are 25 years later doing that exact thing. And yeah, I didn't take any money out of the company the first couple of years. I just kept it all in there, man. I tell people I played a game of blackjack that I just kept doubling down on for 10 years. And we got really lucky with a lot of things, but I also think we made a lot of smart decisions. I look back at some of the pivotal moments. This company wasn't started by me building software. This company was started by me just packaging and bundling and supporting other people's software as a value-added reseller. And then as we started heading down that journey, we just said, well, why don't we make our own software? Why don't we make our own repair information? Why don't we make our own remote diagnostic tools? So we made that shift that required an investment in technology and people. But I knew if we didn't innovate and make better products and better services out there, it was a business that wasn't going to last. So I had to do that. Another big point was during COVID. COVID happened, cash flow got tight, the world was going to fall apart, all the things were happening. And I made the decision at that point to actually double down. I actually said, you know what? If anything, the world's talking to us here saying logistics all of a sudden got really important when groceries weren't making it to grocery stores and stores are out of toilet paper. And diesel powers the logistics network, and people have no idea how big it is. And just to give some perspective to people, just the North American truck market for commercial truck repair is over $100 billion industry. That's bigger than the recording artist industry and the cruise line industries combined. Throw another one in there as we do off highway, and that's 2 to 3 times larger than truck. So now you're talking a $250 to $300 billion industry keeping things working. So it's a big industry people don't know about. And I think COVID for me was a real eye opener. It took us a real opportunity for us to really separate ourselves from competitors. And we said, you know what? We know the long game here. We have no debt. And that's another thing about diesel laptops is we don't carry on debt, and we haven't raised a bunch of money. So we've had to bootstrap it this whole time. But it's allowed us to be really precise. It allows us to be really certain of where we want to spend money, because every penny matters. You just can't go throw it at the wall and hope it sticks. It's got to work. And it forces you to make better decisions, I believe, going down that road. But at the end of the day, innovation doesn't matter if you can't sustain it. And cash discipline doesn't mean playing small, it means being strategic about the bets you make. And that's what we do here at Diesel Laptops.
Yeah, I would say that innovation, you cannot invest in nothing if you don't have somebody that will purchase it. So you can have a gigantic R&D department with a lot of investment from investors, but at the end, if you are not profitable because you cannot or you are not able to sell the product you are doing, you shut the shop anyway. And this is something really common I am observing lately in the market. A lot of companies that they get plenty of money, but at the end they shut the door. And to me, the differentiator that you were talking about is the deeply knowledge of the domain, understanding which was the customer pain that so you can fix. Was this the trick that made the huge difference compared to your competitors?
Yeah, absolutely. And to give the audience a little more color too, when I started my company, I had no brand name, no recognition, no website traffic. I had nothing. And I'm competing against companies that the audience may recognize, names like Snap-on, who's well known in this industry, right? Everyone knows who Snap-on is typically. Bosch. I mean, they make washers, dryers, wiper blades, and diagnostic tools. These are the Hearst Media owns diagnostic tool companies. They're an $11 billion a year company. And here I am in my garage with $1,000. And the question is always like, well, how did you do that? Right? That's a big thing. You're going to get some behemoths. And the answer is really simple: is you become the expert. And when you become the expert at something, people trust you. When people trust you, they buy from you. And price isn't the objection all of a sudden. That's like the furthest thing from their mind, because they know and they believe what you're doing and they see it working. And we didn't hire a bunch of salespeople to go knock on doors and cold call. We're 10 years in. We still don't go cold call. We still don't go knock on doors. We do it all through referrals. We do it through the internet. We said we're going to own the internet, and we're going to own it. And if people Google anything in our space, we're going to be above the fold, and people are going to land on our page, and we're going to take great care of them. So that's how you go beat up billion-dollar companies, which is a post I literally just did on LinkedIn the other day saying these are the best competitors I could ever have, because they just move so slow. They don't innovate. They get caught in the stranglehold of everything going on inside these big organizations. And we have to be very attentive and make sure that we don't fall into that same trap. And to this point, we've built products that have kind of ate ourselves. What I mean by that is we used to have these tools that were $5,000 that did a thing, and now we're selling a tool that's $350 that does the same stuff. And everyone told me I was crazy when I did that. And I was like, at the end of the day, our guiding light's always been, let's take care of the customer. And if we don't do it, somebody will. So let's be the ones that lead the charge and let them all figure out how to fight this. Because if we're not worried about ourselves, we got to we can't be worried what our competitors are doing. We got to do what's right for the customer and solve their problems. Keep solving problems. You'll keep bringing in revenue. It's really that simple.
I love how you put it. It's really that simple. Yes, if you find the secret recipe. But a lot of competitors out there, not only in your business, but also in IT and software especially, they don't care about the user. Because when I go in company, especially large company, that they have a gigantic software system, you go and work with the teams, then you ask them, okay, which was the last time have you spoke with a user? I don't speak with user. Why have to speak with user? But they're using your product. You should know what they think about the product. But there is the customer support. There is the product owner. I do only coding. So this to me is the killer of a IT company. That indeed was your strength point to build yours without investor, only bootstrapping it. So I guess that here we have tackled a really big point on your side. So chapeau.
Yeah, we made mistakes along the way, right? So like I told the audience, I'm a truck repair guy trying to figure out how to be a software company. So if there's a mistake you can make about growing a software company, I've probably made it. But I always tell people, like, one of the things I'm really good at is making mistakes, but what I'm even better at is learning from them and not making sure we don't repeat them again, because they're just life lessons at the end of the day. And you look at a lot of things we did in that software side is, did we used to have a ton of tech debt? Absolutely. Did we not have standards? Absolutely. Did we not have great documentation? Absolutely. Like, those were just learning curves that we had to figure out as we were growing. And, if I had to do it all over again, I'm sure I'd save myself a ton of time and a ton of money doing it all over again. But those are lessons learned. And now I've started another company, and it's now like, it just goes so much faster the second and third and fourth time you go do a thing, because you just know where the pitfalls are and where the traps are. But it's all about learning as you grow your business and taking those lessons, not being upset when you fail, not being upset when something goes bad, but learning from those mistakes and making a decision to be better the next time around and learn from them. And that's a thing a lot of people get stuck up on too, is something bad happens, a mistake happens. They blame other people. They blame the situation. They blame COVID. They blame the economy. They blame it. They blame everything else except themselves. And at the end of the day, you got to be accountable. It's your company. It's your direction, your leadership. It doesn't matter what the hell else is going on in the world or with other people. That's all on you. There's no walking away from any of that.
So let me take from your assist, because you provide something that is really intriguing. So you say that you made a lot of mistakes because you are not coming from a domain that was software, but you knew what the customer were looking for. But I see instead of a lot of companies in IT that CEO, CTO, they claim to be engineers, software engineers. They claim that they know how to create software, and the company, they shut down. Why? Because they were so egocentric that typically they were not able to learn nothing from the mistake that they were doing. And this is, I guess, another important trait. Being a leader that stays humble, that is able to accept the failure without blaming others, learning as a collective ownership of learning, and then moving on with the lesson learned. So I believe that your employees, they see you as a peer more than a CEO from where you are coming, I guess.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, when I walk into a room, I want to be the dumbest guy in that room. You check your ego at the door. I had to check my ego at the door a long time ago to make this thing work at Diesel Laptops. And I can tell the audience why. Like, I was like 3 or 4 years into this. Maybe it was like 4 or 5, but I'm into this thing, and like, revenue really stopped growing. The company stopped growing there. And what I started to realize is it didn't have anything to do with my product. It didn't have anything to do with my pricing. It didn't have anything to do with my marketing, my people. None of that was the problem. The problem was me. The problem was me. I was involved in everything. I didn't want to give up control. They weren't going to do it right. Like, I was just putting it all on myself. And when I realized, hey, I pay these people a lot of money, and I bet they'll probably do a better job than I will with these things. And giving up control as a CEO founder, it's really freaking tough, man. People don't want to do it. You see it time and time again in businesses where they just want to hold on to that control and micromanage everything. And I can tell you this, that's how you just end up plateauing. Is as soon as you decide like you're going to go give this responsibility and accountability to somebody else and reward them for it, it's the most uplifting thing. Like my whole job the last couple of years as CEO has been two things: focus on the future and work myself out of a job. Like everything I do, I'm like, why am I doing this? And why isn't somebody else? Let me teach them and like, let me get this off my plate and let them do it. So it's been really liberating. And through that process, we found a lot of great employees, and we had a lot of employees that really stepped up. I mean, someone that's my executive assistant, who you would never think, now runs our biggest sales division in our company. And she does a fantabulous job on it. An 18-year-old that I met that was working in my warehouse ended up being our director of operations, managing, at the point he left, it was an $80 million a year revenue company, and he's managing employees, doing all these things, right? I mean, there's story after story, people inside our company who took on additional responsibility, they shined, and they really exploded as a person, and who they are, and their life went in a completely different trajectory. And then we had people on the other side of the fence who we gave responsibility to, and they couldn't handle it. It wasn't in their skill set. They couldn't handle the stress. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. And that's okay. We'll try to find another seat for them on the bus, or maybe they just need to get another bus. But you got to have great people inside your organization. You got to get them all rowing the boat in the same direction. And it's tough. It's tough as your company gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because you don't know them. You have to communicate in different ways. Like I used to know everyone's first name there and last name and their kids' names and bring them to lunch their first day of work. And, you can't do that anymore as you get bigger. But there's ways to do it still. But that's the job as the CEO, is to set the culture, set the tone, set the direction of the company. That's what we're here for.
And I love this because a lot of CEO, when they scale their company, they miss this point. And scaling the company means that you are intaking people that with their behaviors, they are de facto or reinforcing your culture or drifting your culture. And so as a CEO, the main stuff that a CEO should do in scaling the company is ensuring the culture stick to your DNA, not that it's drifting to the DNA of the newcomers. Also because every newcomer can drift in different direction, and so it will create a lot of entropy, and so miscommunication, and so a lot of waste. Indeed, stuff that we see every day in corporation with gigantic org chart, millions poured in HR departments, but then without a shared culture. They sign a document of culture, but de facto on the field is totally different. This is another interesting story from your side. And what I see, Tyler, here is a beautiful analogy of what we call a purpose-driven organization, where because everybody from the CEO to the employees, they share a purpose, in your case was creating less pain for the truck driver in the service, every employee is moving toward this direction. So you have alignment since the commence of the company. And this is, again, a clear example that this model works because you have done it without any funds and any investment from outside.
Yeah, that was it was a tough transition, getting our employees to understand we're not selling products, we're selling solutions. And these solutions really benefit people's lives. And at the end of the day, we're a B2B business. There's only two reasons you should ever buy from me: I save you time, or I save you money, and hopefully both. And that's really what we do here, is we save customers time and we save customers money. And it's our job to make sure they're aware of everything that's there, that's available to them. But selling a solution versus a product's like a different thing. And trying to like our sales org, we've had to throw the hand grenade in the trench a couple times and just blow it all up and redo it all again. And you have to do that though as your company scales. We always say what worked yesterday won't work today. And we have to keep innovating, keep changing, and if you want to keep growing, you have to do it. There's not another way. And it's really scary as your revenue grows high. I mean, I remember you had 60 million, and my sales manager, director, chief revenue officer was like, hey man, I got to like totally blow up the whole sales org and pay people differently and restructure this thing and do all the things. And you're sitting there, man, like, man, I don't know, I got to 60 million. This seems like a pretty good place to be. Now you want to blow it all up. Is it worth it? And you have to just work through that fear and find the courage to go do what you know is right for the company in the future. And I can say with certainty, I don't lack much courage when it comes to the direction of diesel laptops. I know where it's going. I communicate that to the employees where it's going, and we get everyone rowing that boat in the same direction. There's not a lot that can stop us. As I said earlier, we started with no resources, no cash, no brand name. Today, it's a different thing. Our brand name is our most expensive Google AdWord that we bid against. It's my own brand name. So, like, competitors have attached onto it. We've had so many copycat companies crop up just trying to, copy what we do. And it doesn't matter because we just keep staying 3 steps ahead of them with new products, new services, new ways of doing business. I think their head keeps spinning a little bit like, who is this guy and where did he come from? I remember one of our competitors telling a customer like, hey, that guy just sells laptops out of the trunk of his car. And I was like, he's not wrong. That's where it started. That's where I do my lunch breaks. But this is a different company now. But that's what happens, right? As companies grow, the biggest companies on the planet started small, right? You got Phil Knight selling Nikes out of the trunk of his car. You got Bill Gates. You go through the whole list. None of these big companies started huge. They all started just trying to help people and solve problems.
I would say that the companies that they started big, they failed big as well. Because if you don't do in the right way, as you are describing, you go with your company into a hyper growth that a lot of people are not ready to manage. And then it will collapse. An interesting point that you were touching, and I would like to deep dive, is in all this evolution in 10 years, technology and IT has evolved drastically. We went through Agile, DevOps, and now AI in the future, near future, most probably will be even quantum. But in your field, having a SaaS application, I guess, went through multiple rounds of technical advancement and improvement. Because you don't have money to waste because nobody bake you with millions. How do you treat the technical debt that is naturally built in software when you have to create a new solution, for instance? Is something that you have under control?
Yeah, I mean, we created a ton of technical debt in the beginning because I didn't know. I would just be like, hey, I need a product. Let me go find a developer somewhere and let me go have them build a thing. And you do that I probably did that thing like a dozen times. Now I got a dozen different platforms with dozen different logins and dozen different technical stacks. And you had all these things. So we had the good fortune of realizing like, hey, this isn't making any sense to have one platform that does this, one that does this, one that does this, one does that. Is there a way we can just put this all into one platform and do this in the right way that we can also transition it to mobile as well? And we even failed there. We brought in some people to run that department, and we went through 2 of them. And while it looked great on paper, there was just the lack of leadership and action behind it, and they were not the right person, and we probably held on to them longer than we should have. But again, when you're someone that doesn't understand what a software company should look like, you don't know. You're trusting what's in front of you. So one of the things we did in our software engineering department, we had about 50 of them in there, is there was so much chaos going on, so many projects going on, and nothing was coming across the finish line, and there was like tech debt all over the place and just everything going on. And we just said, you know what, we're going to fire everybody except for 10, 8 actually. And we're just going to scale this thing down. I'm going to bring in a professional software company to teach us how to be a software company. And we're going to get it down to the foundation, and we're going to build this thing back up again, and we're going to figure it out. And then we're going to scale up from there. So the new way that we do things here at Diesel Laptops is our core team at Diesel. We don't do the big projects. We hardly even do the medium projects, but we do spend a lot of time scoping, planning, communicating, bringing in the subject matter experts. We spend an absurd amount of time now before we even write the first line of code to make sure we all know what's going on and what dependencies are involved and what's going to impact, and really just thoughtfully planning it out. And for me, an entrepreneur who's used to there's a thing, go do it. It is painful as can be, man. Just sit there for weeks or months and just talk about a thing that you want to do. But we realized that's what you have to do if you really want to plan things, if you really want to build a future and build a company that's going to be around for a long time with the right software and not have that tech debt and make it flexible and think through all the scenarios and do all the things. So that's been the big change, is bringing a professional software company for us now slowly adding back to that team, but then using third-party companies to help build some of the bigger projects for us just to keep that off our plate. I don't know, looking at it now, we deliver multitudes more product software releases each year, and they're stable, they're secure, they work great, they work exactly as we designed them, with way less people and way less expense than we had a couple years ago. But again, that's just us learning how to be a software company. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on running a software company by any stretch. But one of the other things we do here that a lot of companies probably don't is we're not afraid to put a product out that's not 100% what we think it can be if we're not sure about it. So we have no problem putting a product together, getting it to the market, getting immediate feedback, and deciding what to do and pivoting quickly. That's never been one of our problems. I run into a lot of people who just won't release a product that's not perfect yet, and they just keep working on it, and it ends up never coming across the finish line, or a competitor comes out, or something else happens. So tech debt's still a real thing, but I know our situation is magnitudes better than it was a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. And you do have to keep a constant eye on it and decide, how you're going to do things and what mechanism.
Your story is amazing. I need to unpack some milestone that you touch along the way, because you started saying that you were hiring developers. A big trap. A big trap, because the market is full of developers, but do they know how to create software properly? I tell you from all research that only 3% of developers worldwide are capable to do a simple tic-tac-toe or fifth-path kata in a way that looks like an engineer. Okay? So, baseline. I'm not talking the way of creating software that I witnessed in Formula One. Okay? So, normal software engineer, let's say junior. But if then you match them against a social environment where they have to communicate, indeed to understand which is the customer need, which is the product they will need to build, the amount from 3% goes down to 0.9, let's say 1%. So the probability to get a good developer is 1 on 100. So I can absolutely rely that when you were looking for developers, you took what we call mediocre. Okay? Or people that are indeed creating software, but with a gigantic amount of technical depth along the way. Then you said something that is intriguing me. You said that you arrived to a center point, that you understood something, and I'm looking to understand what something was, and then you fired them all, except 10, 8. What did you find that was the trigger to say, hey guys, let's shut the shop and rebuild it from scratch?
Yeah. So when I first started hiring managers to run our software department, things got a little out of control. Myself usually would say, hey, I need this thing built. And then it would be, 2 to 3 times over budget, and I'd get a product that wasn't even close. I'd be like, okay, like what happened here, right?
I know the
And
story.
yeah, and what would happen is the software engineering team would decide, like, oh, we should do this feature. There'd be scope creep. There would be new things added that made no sense. They thought it'd be great. So like an example is fault codes. Fault codes are like numeric numbers that come up when you have when a check engine light comes on. So our database used search by number. And our team was like, oh, we should be able to search by description. And I'm like, guys, so they did it, right? They spent like weeks building this thing to search by description. I'm like, this doesn't help anybody. Like, I search for oil pressure and I have 18 fault code results. Like, why, I don't know which of the 8, like, this didn't help anybody. Like, why did we do this? And like, well, we thought it'd be a good idea. And there was so many like good ideas, but they weren't industry people. They were software engineers. And there was a lot of friction because I would get involved and they're like, well, why the hell is the CEO getting involved in software development? What's he know about software development? He's not a software engineer, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, look, we just have a disconnect here of what the end user needs. That's number one. Number two, when we introduced time tracking and actually started to that was like, you would not believe the revolt I had when I was like, I need to know how many hours we're spending on this project. Like, when we make a project, there needs to be an estimate. and I need to know how many hours it actually took. Like, is the problem we misestimated, or is the problem we're slow? Like, we don't even know. Like, we were flying blind on every single project and spending millions of dollars a year, and nothing was getting done. And the scary thing is, I've talked to so many other software companies or companies that have software divisions that do the exact same thing. A project should take 6 months. I just talked. This is a $1 billion company I was talking to. They had a project that was supposed to take 6 months. It took them over 3 years. And they were proud of themselves about getting it across the finish line, right? And I'm just like, oh my God, like, at least I'm not the only one in the same boat. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, but you understand the craziness of this industry. So you have company that they are doing even 1 billion revenue in software, but who will pay this software? Customer that get pissed because you have developed something that when I as a customer see what you have developed, I ask myself, like you ask yourself, why did you build this feature? Who told you? They don't know the basic of doing diagnostic. If I do diagnostic, I plug the scanner, I see a code, and then I search by code. Why I need to search by description? It remembers me one intriguing story, Tyler. And I went with my brother to visit a friend in the old days before my brother was starting to work in Ferrari F1 as a mechanic. We were passionate for rally. So we went to this friend and he was building a roll cage for his Mitsubishi. And say, okay. And then we went there the week after. My brother looked at it and say, now I'm curious to see how you put this stuff inside the car. Because he built the roll cage, perfect. I was outside. I say, simple. I cut in half and then I re-weld inside. There are people that are done in this way. They start to do something, but they disconnect from the technical details to use it.
Well, I'll give a great example. I have a Sonos system in my house for audio, right? And they came out with a new app update last year. And I remember getting the app and being like, how do I even play music? I was like, I would joke to people, like, if you could design a worse GUI, like, it's like they have a competition who could design the worst GUI interface here. Because this thing, I can't even play a song. And then I was like, I did actually a little Googling, right? And I'm like, wow, their stock tanked. They lost like $1 billion in market cap because of a bad software, like a bad interface on their app. And I'm like, how does it even happen? Like if they would have asked any customer that ever used this, they would have been like, this is horrible. Like, give us the old one back. Like, it was horrible.
I tell you one story related to Sonos, because I had Sonos as well in my house, because I love their hardware. But I got the same experience like you. Suddenly the app went out and was a crap. So, that much crap that the CEO of Sonos wrote publicly a letter to all the customers with apologize. So, I'm asking myself, you have a great company that is building hardware for a sound experience that is amazing. Then you fail miserably as a company because your app is crap. And I see this with a lot of other companies. So I have motorbikes, even cars that I love because they are fast. And then I see their application on the mobile in the App Store. Reviews with 0, 1 star. Everybody is commenting with really harsh comments. Why you destroy your brand image with this crap application? But people, they are still doing it. And they pay for that because they have cash flow. And this is what I love of your story. You have built something extraordinary, going through a lot of tough experience, learning from the experience, but then moving in the right direction all the time. Because now you have a lot of more awareness about how to build software. And trust me, your awareness is a kind of awareness that a lot of software companies out there, they even still are there to try to figure it out. And how you have done it is remarkable. Because a lot of egocentric executives, they are not able to see it. So I'm still puzzled there.
I'm obsessed with user feedback. Like the surveys we do, I still get an email for every single Google review we get or an app review. I mean, I want to know what customers are saying, and now I'm far removed from answering the sales and tech calls. It's a little more difficult, but I still listen to random sales calls and tech calls to see what's going on over there. And I think you're absolutely right. One thing we did really good at Diesel Laptops that we've been talking about here is the bottom-up approach, where we solve the frontline pain for those techs in the shop environment. And we're like, look, anyone can sell a scan tool. There's plenty of scan tools out there. But does your scan tool tell you what part number it is to fix the fault code? Does it have integrated wiring diagrams? Does it have 60 diesel techs waiting to chat with you to help you fix your truck? Are they offering you training on how to properly troubleshoot after treatment electrical systems? And now with that acquisition we did with Pretact, when we get into predictive AI and 24/7 remote vehicle monitoring, it's just upping the game even more. So I think we're doing a good job at Diesel Laptops at attacking the problem. And when we put a new product in the market, we really don't focus on profitability. We just are like, hey, we got to get this product in the market. We got to figure out if it's going to solve problems or not. And the market will tell us the price point. So we've had a lot of, failures, I think, around price point over the year. But at the end of the day, when you're obsessed with the end user and creating a great experience for them and solving their problem, and everybody has a problem, I don't care what app someone's saying they're making here. Like we're just talking about music. You know what music's doing? It's solving a problem for the end user. It's getting them through some emotions. It's giving them some entertainment. It's doing that. That's what music does, right? Like you can name a product. It's solving a problem that somebody has, no matter what it is. But at the end of the day, adapt fast, stay humble, build what actually helps. Like those are the keys that you really got to keep focused on with strategy.
Exactly. And by the way, talking about music, as you see, I have here my taste.
Oh, the ACDC.
But I'm curious because
Just listening to some of that music last night, actually.
yeah, I am a rock classic guy. Probably from the color of the beard.
It was rock classic night last night here. Yep.
Exactly. One interesting stuff that I'm looking to deep dive with you now is your customer obsession is something that I love. Because in my idea of creating a great organization, there is the concept that goes beyond the Toyota way and lean management. There is also the lean user experience, so the lean UX. Because in my opinion, who is paying the revenue of a company is clearly the customer pool that you have. So more customer, more revenue. If they are pleased, they are doing all the marketing for you. You don't need even to do an advertise. So the question that I have for you is, do you focus on the larger majority of the user distribution, or do you focus on different user personas? Because from what I understood, you have a different kind of products now, the basic, the mid, and the high spec.
Yeah. So the reason diesel laptops grew originally is because all the competitors would focus on the shop manager, or the person that owned the repair shop or owned the fleet. We didn't do that. We focused on the diesel technician, the guy actually using the tools in the shop environment that had the problem. And I had the fortune to work inside a commercial truck dealership for a long time. And I understood that. I don't know how freight moves from point A to B. I really couldn't tell you that well, right? But I can tell you exactly what happens when a truck breaks down, whether it's on the road or near a shop, or what happens. Like we understand that process completely. So that's allowed us to just come up with strategies to help. Initially, it was to help just the diesel technicians, but now that's evolved, because as time's gone on now, there are other products and services we've created that solve other problems. So one of the problems is actually in the repair shop process. So today, what happens is, for example, when a truck comes into a truck dealership to get work done, literally someone comes out there with a pen and paper and writes down the VIN number, the odometer reading, takes notes on what's wrong with the vehicle, and then they go back to their computer system and they type it in, right? That's the way it's been done forever. And now we've recently come to market and said, well, tell you what, instead of doing all that, why don't you just hook this tool up, hit this little button in the app, and within 3 minutes, we're going to populate that work order in your system with the correct VIN, all the correct information. The odometer reading is going to be accurate. And by the way, we're going to download and put all the fault codes and all the things going on that report for you as well. So now you can hand that customer, you're going to find additional work. You can validate what the customer's complaints are. There's all good reasons to do it. And by the way, when the job's done, you need to hook that tool back up and do a post scan and make sure the problems were solved, no new problems happened. You can cover your ass in case the guy says you drove 1,000 miles on my truck or you took all the fuel out of my truck. Well, no, you didn't. We had a fuel reading before, fuel reading at. Like, there's 1,000 reasons to do this, but that's not solving any of the technicians' problems. That's solving the shop manager's problems or the shop owner's problems. So anytime you introduce something new, now you have to go focus on a completely different subset of customers. You got to run your ads at different places. You have to have different sales conversations. And it's a transition as your company gets bigger. And now we have another one. And where we've done well with fleets is people that have both like on highway and off highway. So we have one tool that does both. So think of power company, think of a DOT company, someone that's got construction equipment and they got commercial trucks, mining operations, ready mix operations. We've done well there. Where we haven't done well is traditional fleets, the guys that just go up and down the road. There's literally 1 million fleets in the United States. Some are huge, 10,000 plus trucks. Most of them are small, under 3. And the problem in that space is my truck check engine light came on. What do I do? Do I bring it in? Do I call somebody? Well, now it's stopped on the side of the road. Now what? Now I got to call someone and they're going to show up and try to diagnose it on the side of the road. And all these things happen. And we've said, well, what if we could just move all that diagnostic and intrinsic knowledge and repair information that we have into the cab of the vehicle, every cab of the vehicle, driving down every highway and interstate in the United States. And we found out we could do that pretty effectively. They already have a lot of hardware in the cab to be able to pull that data into the cloud. And now we're going to market with 24/7 remote vehicle monitoring, where we'll watch your truck 24/7 and we'll remotely diagnose it while it's driving down the road. And we'll let you know how serious it is, what parts are going to be needed. And when it goes to a shop, we're going to just tell them what to do. We're not going to ask them to try to figure it out. We're just going to do this whole thing for you guys. And then we also have Predictive that got layered into that. So Predictive is before your check engine light comes on, before your battery fails, before your tire blows. These are all things that are still in the infancy of AI and what's happening in the world today. But it is the future of how automotive, commercial truck, equipment, like anything that moves, that's the future of repair, is being predictive before it even occurs. But that remote monitoring is the stepping stone between today's world and that predictive world. So yeah, the personas, that's a long way of me saying the personas definitely change as you go, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep focusing on the people that have the actual problem. Not necessarily the decision maker, but the people that have the problem. Because if they see it's a problem, they see we have a solution, they'll convince that decision maker to do what they need to get done.
I love it, especially because you are touching a point that is indeed where the industry is stuck nowadays, the switch from passive monitoring to predictive observability. That is one of the dreams that as a mechanic enthusiast I have since long time ago, especially when I'm doing the service of my race car or motorbike, and then all the time I need to go into my bookshelf and say, okay, what are the tech spec of this motorbike or this car? Because every time I want to use my torque wrench and doing stuff properly, but every car is different. And all the time you have to check for the tech spec and you don't find them anywhere time. So what you have just proposed is indeed a dream for every mechanic and every truck driver. Having this intelligence and the data at your disposal when you are on the road is unbelievable. Very good product. This.
So a good example of that is when I first started, I was selling these kits. They weren't even my software. I was selling these kits to people, and this kit would tell you like the fault codes, but they wouldn't tell you how to fix it. It'd be like, here's the fault code. So customers would call me. And this is when I'm a one-man company. They'd call me, hey, I got this code. What do I do? Well, I worked in a shop for years. I knew how to fix it. So I would give them the information. Well, you do that one time, then they call you every time they have a fault code, right? So I had the bright idea one day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a software program made that tells people how to fix every single fault code that exists, just so they can stop calling me, because I don't have time to deal with 10 people a day calling me how to fix a fault code. Like, I'm trying to do my normal job. This is before I even started full time. This is like when it was part-time thing. So, come to realize that's just was listening to the customers. Customers were saying like, hey, you gave me a great product. I just need the next step. And that's what we've done with diesel the whole time. Like, okay, now you want fault codes. Now you want labor time guides. Now you want wiring diagrams. Now you want torque specs. Now you want move replace instructions. Now you want to know what part it takes to fix that fault code. Now you want to know before it's constantly listening to your customers through that whole chain of events that happen. And again, solving their problems, saving them time, saving them money. That's what this all comes back to.
Yeah. When you combine this with a deep domain knowledge and you are able to transfer it in the right way to the developers, then it's bingo. And a lot of software industry and software company out there, they're stuck indeed in this process. So from the domain, how you can transfer the knowledge to the developers, from the user, how you can transfer the kind of product that we need to build to the developers. This communication in a software company typically are broken, especially when they adopt what I call mechanical agile. You see a typical setup when they do Scrum without technical practices like stream programming, TDD, and all the stuff that are related with XP. And then there is a product owner, that poor guy, he has to do everything to figure it out, how to transfer the domain knowledge to the team, how to transfer the user experience to the team, and good luck, because it's a bottleneck. Something that you have described so far pretty well.
Yeah. We have 3 distinct software teams, right? Like normal software dev, I got vehicle engineering, I got my predictive monitoring team. But the vehicle engineering team is actually run by somebody that's never coded software before. So he was actually an electrical engineer, one of the sharpest minds I've ever met when it comes to commercial truck repair and diagnostics. And of course, trucks got really complicated with electronics and emission components and all the things the last 10 years. And I realized his value when we were in one of the first meetings. We first learned how to do like some more upper end diagnostic stuff. And the engineer's like, oh yeah, I did it. The ECM, the computer on the truck said, yeah, it was successful. And, Dustin's his name. Dustin's like, yeah, that means nothing. That just means you successfully like sent the command to the engine. Like, did it actually do X, Y, and Z? And he's like, the software engineer, the vehicle engineer's like, well, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what this test does. And having someone with that intrinsic knowledge that understands what should happen when that software is working properly, because he used to be a diesel tech, he knows what it should do. That's invaluable to have. And you can't train for that. You got to just find someone that's been around for a long time that understands these things and has the ability to help, run a vehicle engineering team. And the stuff they're doing over that vehicle engineering team is like unbelievable. Like every time I get an email update from them every month, I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe we're actually like doing this stuff. Like this is some really cool stuff. I'm like, I want to go work with you guys. Like I want to go work with the engineering team. I'm kind of tired of this CEO job some days. So it's great when you have people with that kind of passion that understand what needs to be done to really help drive the product forward.
What you brought here is really intriguing, because you are touching a very nice concept that is in IT one of the biggest pain points. Because to create software should be predictable. So in theory, we should have software tested. Okay. A lot of companies, what they do is testing software after that they have built it. And these kind of tests are really fragile, clunky, expensive, and slow. So there is another approach, the test-driven approach, that you design the test upfront. But how you can design a test upfront if, as a developer, you don't know anything about the domain? So you cannot even imagine a test. And I come exactly from this kind of different kind of software engineer profile, because I started as a telecommunication and robotic engineer. And then I took the second master degree in software. In my family, we have a background in mechanics. So I grew up in a workshop. And with my brother working in F1, you can imagine which kind of standard they put on my shoulder as a software engineer. And when I see people creating software, I look at them like, guys, what the hell are you doing? But this is the normality. And what you just described is obtainable only if you have a domain expert that leads the software department. Otherwise, these guys, they are only able to talk with the computer, but they don't know what to tell the computer to do.
Yeah, we definitely learned that lesson a while ago. Is we like most companies have a QA team that goes through the software code and makes sure it works. But what we were missing was the fact that they didn't understand any of the data they were looking at. They thought it was like, yep, data's there, that's got to be it. And then we release something, and then our team of diesel techs in various departments would be like, hey man, this is jacked. This isn't working right. This is not going to help users, or this got duplicated, or what, they if people in the industry can look at something and we know in like 2 seconds, right? Like, because you're in it all day long for the last 20 years of your life, you know what things should look like when you're looking at certain types of data. And now QA has to work with one of our subject matter experts. And we have to be like, all right, now you need QA and we need someone, the subject matter expert, to go look at it as well to make sure that it looks right. And it took us a while to do that, but that's really solved a lot of our problems. And look, we're like everyone else. We still make mistakes. We still have problems, but we do a great debrief. We have great conversations around it. I say all the time, I'm not afraid of you guys making mistakes. Like, I'd rather you guys make mistakes. I just don't want I don't want to make the same mistake twice. So let's keep learning from it, because that's the best way to learn, is by failing. And I'm okay with that every day of the week.
Yeah. And indeed, to support what you just said, to me, one of the most intriguing business model that there is out there in software is the gaming. So company like Blizzard, for instance, what they are doing is releasing the software in alpha to some customers, and then in beta to other some customer, a larger pool, to get feedback, and then cross-correct and pivoting what they are doing. And their platform, they are super successful. Everybody is almost addicted to their game because the user experience is so immersive, so smooth and flawless that you get really a sense of addiction to the game. And you need to be really careful to, especially if you are a teenager, to don't overplay all the day on these kind of games. So these are the products and the kind of industry that they learn from what you just said. The normality, especially in large corporation, they are completely the opposite. The example that you were telling before, I provide you something and oops, it's not what I was looking for. That is intriguing contrast that showcase again how lesson learner is an important factor when the feedback loop is close with the user. Amazing, Tyler. I like absolutely what is emerging here. But before moving ahead, because I see that we are almost in top of the hour, do you have anything else that you would like to deep dive or tell our digital warriors, which is the lesson learn or whatever other trick you have in your pocket?
Hey, look, I know I don't really, we kind of touched on it, we kind of didn't, but that's just high performing talent. And I think everyone knows it's hard to find good talent out there. And the one thing we talk about a lot of times here is what resumes don't show, and that's grit and mindset. So getting those employees in that have that curiosity, the coachability, the hunger, those are what we and every other company looks for. And it's really hard to put that stuff on a resume and get people to understand that. But having the right people, the right combination of people is also important. I got to have newbies in there with the experienced people working together, and you kind of have to grow your own in a lot of cases now as well, because it is hard. The talent war is real out there. The really good people are tough and hard to find. But when you get them, it's like the magic happens, right? And you got to learn what those great people really want. And what those people really want, those especially software developers, is they want to have impact, they want to have autonomy, and they want to be challenged. And that's why they're engineers, because they like to solve problems. And I know at Diesel Laptops, we have no shortage of problems for them to solve. But you layer in then the culture of loyalty and growth, and you end up attracting some top players, and you get people referring their friends to come work for you and talking about on Facebook how much they love working for your company, and all those things that happen. But hire great people is definitely one of the other keys. I think we kind of skipped over a little bit, but we did talk about it, I guess, in a lot of the conversation today.
And thank you for touching this, because I did indeed some notes here, and this was one of the points that I was looking to tackle with you, because I have a curiosity that I want to understand with you. When you find the right people, that they match the culture of the company, and then you onboard them in your company, how you ensure that they can grow sustainable in the company and they don't become mediocre after a while? Do you have a specific way how to upskilling them?
Yeah. So, I mean, internally, there's a lot of potential, a lot of options. You look at a lot of people that come in, maybe not even software devs, but people that work in my technical call center, and they come out of a 2-year technical program or some type of college. There's been so many people from that department that have gotten into network security. They've gotten into IT administration. They've gotten into software development. They've gotten into sales. They just got their foot in the door. And I have every new employee come sit down with me for 20, 30 minutes just so I can say hi and put a name to the face. And I would say one out of maybe 15 ish, 20, when you start asking them like the questions, like, where do you want to be in life? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Most give me that same bullshit. I want to be working here at Diesel Laptops in 5 years from now. And you're like, okay, I know you chat GPT that or someone told you to say that, but where do you want your life to be in 5 years? Right. But every once in a while you get that person that comes in there and they're like, oh, and they just rattle through like step by step where they're going to be in 5 years from now. And I'm like, that's what we want to keep hiring, that person. I may not be able to keep them a long, but I know when you have people that are constantly striving for greatness, everyone around you wants to strive for greatness. Like everyone wants to level up. And the more of those people you have in your organization that are pushing themselves, they're actually pushing other people at the same time, whether they know it or not. And that's what everybody wants out of an employee that comes to work for you. It's just someone that throws 100% in. And I can almost tell you with certainty, every time that person has come in where I've seen that drive and ambition and that curiosity and that hunger and all the intangibles, they've leveled up so freaking quick. Because you just know they're not content and they're just constantly asking and they're a sponge and they have a great attitude, like all the things you want out of an employee. And then you have the rest of them where it's like they're just happy to come in every day, clock their 8 hours, get a paycheck, and rinse and repeat and do it again tomorrow. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that to anybody. I'm just saying there's certain people that are just driven to go up and to the right constantly, no matter what. And I know that because I'm one of those people. It doesn't matter where my life is right now. I know I want it to go up and to the right. And I'm never content. I'm never satisfied with what I have. And maybe that's a bad thing for some people. For me, it's been a great thing because it's allowed me to just keep expanding my knowledge, my life, my experiences. And I know I've inspired people along the way as well. So there's good and bad with everything, but that's what you really want out of people. And give people opportunity to go do something. You'll be shocked how much they can accomplish for you.
Yes, and I love the concept that you have shown because it's really aligned to the book The Invisible Leader. So this guy that you are indicating are indeed behaving in a way that they are de facto an invisible leader, pulling all the rest to a role model of greatness. That is indeed something that is matching absolutely the result of your company. I have a last question for you, because for me it's the most intriguing and also personally connected with you as a human being. You move from scratch to the company, this laptop, at this stage of its development and evolution. It took 10 years. I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, that in 10 years, you as a person, you as a CEO, you had multiple milestones that you were looking to achieve. And then when you achieve this, you move to the next one and to the next one. Is this process something that have changed you as a CEO and as a person? So the growth of this laptop has at the end changed you as a person? And if yes, how it was during the journey?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? And there's a good book around all this, Simon Sinek, Why, the power of why. And I tell people all the time, my why has shifted a couple times. So I mentioned earlier in the podcast why I did it at the beginning. It was to put a roof and food on the table, right? Like that was why I did it. And then it was like, well, can I actually like grow a sustainable business that has employees, right? That was why I was doing the next step. And then it was, well, can I actually like scale this thing up and grow this into like a bigger company? That was my next why I woke up every morning to do the thing I do. And a couple of years ago, it shifted. Several years ago, the why shifted. And I realized why I was put here. right? And why I was put here is to help an industry that really needs help. Diesel techs are like any other skilled trades. They're struggling. They can't find people. Nobody wants to get into them. It creates all these other problems. Houses aren't being built, plumbing's not being fixed, construction jobs aren't getting done, freight's not making it from point A to B, like all these things we depend on every day. And I realized several years ago, like, you know what? We actually have an opportunity that a lot of people don't ever get in life. And that's to go create a positive impact, not just in our company, but in our entire industry. So a lot of what we do now doesn't come down to profit and loss and spreadsheets and all these things. It comes down to, does this move us closer to really solving an industry problem here? And the answer to a lot of things we do is yes. So that's why we do it now. What we do now is really to help an industry that really needs help. And it's not just me, it's other companies alone. I have my own podcast show for a while there too. I talked to so many people in my space that had the same drive and ambition to be like, there's when there's a problem somewhere, that means there's an opportunity for somebody, right? And I stepped into a problem area and found an opportunity. Others have as well. But your why changes. And if you don't know why you're doing something, I can also tell you're going to get stuck or you're going to get burnt out or you're not going to go to where you want to get to. You got to figure out why you're doing the thing you do. And you got to figure out where you want to get it to. Because if you don't know the answer to those two questions, you're not going to make the right decisions to get there. And someone that's gone through it, it's painfully obvious. If you would ask me that question 10 years ago, I'd been like, whatever, I'm just growing a business. But it definitely impacts your company direction, how you perceive life, how you perceive everything around you once you have some clarity on those particular aspects.
I love what you just said because indeed the impact that you are making is remarkable. And I see also another analogy talking about books. Do you realize that how much is this laptop an anticipatory organization? I guess you know what the anticipatory organization is and the book.
So yeah, you're saying anticipatory organization, right? So Daniel Burrus, I was at a trade show when I worked for maybe I wasn't working for someone else, but yeah, I had the chance to see Daniel Burrus live and do an event. And when I read his book afterwards, I met him afterwards too, and then I invited him years later on my podcast to talk about it. So there's a podcast. He's one of my guests on my podcast. He's a great guy, and he's absolutely right. There's hard trends and soft trends, and how you deal with these things, and how you look at them, and that's really what a CEO does now. Is my role is to like look. I'm worried. I'm not worried about 2025. I'm worried about 2026 and beyond. Like I'm trying to get out as far ahead as I can to figure out the direction of this company. And the further I can get out ahead of it, the more I know we'll grow and be successful and keep on rolling. And Daniel's book really helps, set the path on that one.
Yes, the concepts that are in the book of Daniel are amazing, especially if you apply them in a highly disruptive environment like IT and software, where nowadays, roughly every 5 years, you have something that comes in the market as a new technology and is disrupting everything. If you think 2022, nobody was imagining that somebody would provide you a chat and you can talk with AI. Now, everybody is doing that.
It's like the stock market and Warren Buffett. Nobody can tell you what the stock market's going to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next quarter. But if you look at through the lens of the next decade, it gets really easy to decide where to invest your money. And it's the same with running a company, right? All of a sudden, if you're looking through the lens of 5 or 10 years and you can see a trend in a direction something's going, it's so much easier to make a decision. And especially for me, I don't have stockholders that peas every quarter. I don't have short-term goals I have to hit. I just got to go build the thing. And that's another advantage of not taking in outside capital is you don't have that immediate pressure on you to go deliver results. Like it's just the only pressure on here is me. So there are advantages that also help when you start looking to be anticipatory.
Yes, and if you look to build a company with the anticipatory organization mindset, you can avoid a lot of traps, especially in the boardroom, when every quarter you have to go there and tell the people that have borrowed money to you, hey buddy, sorry, but we weren't able to meet the expectations. And then they start to go in the silent collusion war, where the leadership is bringing to the board lipstick metric or vanity metric so that the investor are quiet for another quarter. That is a model that I saw in so many organizations that is unbelievable. It's so toxic.
It is, it really is.
Good. The point that you had an interview on the podcast with Daniel, I will smash in the comment here below the link, because I need to provide the link to people so that they will understand which kind of person is Daniel, and then they will read also the book. Amazing. Good. Did you realize after that you have done the podcast that what you have built with this laptop was disruptive?
Yeah, I mean, I always knew what we were building was disruptive. I didn't understand the impact it would have. I didn't understand a lot of what would come after. And like I said, when I first started it, it wasn't to be disruptive. It was to do a different thing. So it's really pivoted the last couple of years on why we do things and looking through that lens of long term and all the other things that happen. Man, it's been a while now. I feel like I need to go read that book again. It's been a while. I gotta go refresh my memory on his book.
Especially now that is AI, and that you have the opportunity with AI to create the way to do predictive maintenance with predictive fault tolerance, with having also a virtual assistant on the road that can help 24 hours a day, a truck driver, to solve the issue, because you have a lot of data, and the heuristic of AI is really related to the quality of the data that you own. So I guess that, yes, we should read the book together and thinking about something, because what you have in front of you is a hell of opportunity to create a product that nobody has. This is something that I see for sure.
Yeah, that's how we view it too. But with new products comes new challenges, right? Now you're introducing an entirely new product to a marketplace is always a little more difficult, because people they need to see the value in what you do, right? So that's always the challenge. And Predictive's been around for a couple of years in North America. It's hard for companies to justify Predictive, because how do you know you really saved any money? How do I know I got an ROI? Like it's a hard thing to prove when it comes to a business model. That's why we view the vehicle monitoring as really like the linchpin. Vehicle monitoring, instant repair information, diesel techs helping you, both automated and manual stuff. And then we're going to keep layering that predictive stuff as the technology keeps evolving. So I can say, you want to be anticipatory 10 years from now, is every commercial truck being monitored going up and down the road 24/7? Probably.
Most probably.
Probably.
Yes.
Because it just makes sense. It doesn't cost that much to do it. A lot of it can be automated. Like the paths are built, just got to connect the paths. And that's really where we're at now at diesel laptops.
But at the end is the trend of technology. So what was anticipatory 10 years ago, like monitoring, IoT, SIM, telecommunication, all this kind of stuff, nowadays is common interface, is a infrastructure that we believe is a new commodity. So having every vehicle under monitoring is the new norm, I guess. If I have to purchase a car nowadays, they are monitored with a SIM by definition out of the dealer.
Yeah, so the advantage we have now in diesel laptops is we've had emission standards in the US since 2004, and they've come out like every 3 years to reduce carbon and NOx that's in the air. Well, other countries aren't on the same curve. So Australia, for example, is just now getting like our 2013 emission level vehicles in Australia. And we know what happened in 2013 in the United States because we were here. We all went through it. And so now we're all sitting here staring at ourselves being like, wait a second. This isn't a question of how this is going to play out. We know exactly how this is going to play out in Australia because it's already happened here. And then they're going to have 2017 and 2021. Like we already know this story. It's already been written. We're in the chapter. So how, now that we know these things, how can we best go forward as a company and help support Australia? So having conversations like that, having an experience like that, having the resources just opens so many doors of opportunity to you as a culture.
Yes. And this is again how you use data and information and knowledge to be disruptive. Love it. Really love it. So, Tyler, I see that the time is moving too fast. Do we have anything else that we want to deep dive? Any suggestion that we want to move over to our listener?
And I think me and you could sit here for hours talking about different aspects of, of everything, but I think we hit all the high notes, man. Like I can't believe it's been like an hour and 15 minutes or so since we've been recording this. So like time does fly. Like it has no meaning all of a sudden.
Exactly. So I would say if we want to get in the fridge, get a cold beer and then drinking it, we can stay here still for 3 hours. But for our listener, probably it's better to close with a last suggestion and a reminder that people, they should be always humble and open like you were as a CEO.
Well, I really appreciate that. It's been great conversations with you, and hopefully the audience got a little bit of something out of this. I know every time I listen to a podcast or read a book, there's always at least one little tidbit there. And I'm obviously always available to reach. I'm on LinkedIn all over the place. People can find me there pretty easily.
I will connect in the description all the link to you, LinkedIn, your YouTube channel, and everything. In LinkedIn, I will do the same when I will share it. So good. I guess we arrive to the end. Tyler, I want to thank you very much because it was an amazing conversation. I love it.
Same here. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast. I always enjoy having great conversations around anything business, entrepreneurship, growth, IT. Like these are passions of mine. I can tell they're passions of yours as well.
Yes, they are. Maybe in the next podcast, we can record something from your dealership and then move into the circuit to do some drifting with some race car. Who knows? Let's see.
Love it. Hey, on that note, one of my employees actually started a virtual NASCAR racing circuit where these guys from all over the world have the racing chairs and do all the things. So we're actually sponsoring like this virtual racing circuit now, which is kind of weird, but it's the world we live in is definitely changing.
So I have a cockpit with the television and the Fantech steering wheel and everything here on my right. And as you see, my pen holder, I will show you. My pen holder is still branded from the old times. So
that's awesome.
That is awesome. We can indeed talk.
Well, I'll show you the links for this NASCAR circuit thing that my employee's doing. Yeah. So he's pretty pumped about it. So
more than happy to.
I still don't understand it all, but I'm like, I'll support you, man. We'll be a sponsor. So let's do it.
And though I will be also their sponsor, I will put the link below. Good, Tyler. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, talk to you soon. Maybe also see you soon in the US. And see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you again for having me on.
Listener, thank you for watching this episode and please remember to subscribe and smash all your comments down below.
Thanks for listening and please remember to subscribe to the Forge of Unicorns to stay up to date with our latest episodes.